I mean, my head is just nodding. I'm listening to this going, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that needs to be out there. We got to go to a break right now. But when we come back, I really want to finish this up with you. I do have one more question, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Hey, John.
But it's very seldom that we get somebody that can actually answer a question here. We interview so many, quote unquote Republicans on this show who don't seem to know, one end from the other. So to have somebody on here that can actually articulate, doesn't need to take a 30-second, break to figure out what they're going to say. We have KrisAnne Hall with us, and expert on the Constitution, I would say, from what I'm hearing so far. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here on the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our show archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted financial expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known and syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time, firsthand, from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Bob airs live every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live, or you can choose any one of his archive shows at blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. That's blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. For complete and honest commentary on politics, finances, and culture, check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Okay, welcome back, folks. This is the Conservative Syndicate with Joe Hakos, host John Matthews, and our special guest, KrisAnne Hall. KrisAnne has been telling us all about what has been happening with Congress and the three branches and the judicial system, and how we have become, I guess you would call it, extra constitutional since we are outside the Constitution. KrisAnne, I just had a question when you were talking about this, and it seems like we've gone a long way outside the Constitution. What do you think would be the best way to get back inside the realms of the Constitution? And if so, what would be possible, if it is possible? And so do you think we'll ever see it in our lifetimes?
Well, that's why I wrote the book Sovereign Duty, because I don't think my opinions on how this is supposed to work are really relevant. I think the important thing is how did those who created this constitutional republic want us to take it back. And the power and the real power rests in the understanding of the creation of the states. Who are the states? What are their role in the creation of the Constitution? How were they created themselves on July 2nd, 1776? And what is their role in the check and balance of the federal system? And my book, Sovereign Duty, actually lays that out. My website, if you don't mind me saying, is KrisAnneHall.com, KrisAnneHall.com. And you can find my teachings and my writings and my radio show and my books that I've written. But Sovereign Duty lays out the way our framers intended for us to restore the republic when it becomes more like a kingdom. And it is possible.
So
it's very possible.
So would that be nullification or just strictly the 10th Amendment or what?
Well, it is a matter of the states exerting their sovereignty and then taking back control of their reserved powers. Remember, the 10th Amendment says the powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states. James Madison tells us in Federalist Papers 45 that the powers that were delegated to the federal government through the Constitution are reserved to external objects, which is founders speak for foreign affairs, and then he tells us what they are: war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce. He says everything else is reserved to the states. So if the feds are doing things beyond foreign affairs of war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce, they're stealing power from the states. And so what the states have to do is simply take back control of the powers that were reserved to them by the people on July 2nd, 1776, and start fulfilling their role and their duty and their obligation to the people to preserve the republic and preserve the liberties of the people.
So that would be the state legislatures along with the governors of those states to say enough to the federal government, enough with this.
That's right.
And then the federal government.
And the sheriffs as well. Your sheriffs could be doing this independently without your state.
Oh, okay.
Because even the Supreme Court recognizes that there's a unique jurisdiction in the office of the sheriff. In a Supreme Court case called Mack Prinz v. U.S., the Supreme Court states that there are two separate jurisdictions. There are federal jurisdictions and local jurisdictions. And your sheriff, being the elected official over his local jurisdiction, has the power to tell the federal government it has no jurisdiction where he is. So your sheriff, if he were actually constitutionally minded, could tell the EPA, the FDA, the ATF, and all these unconstitutional agencies that they have no power in his jurisdiction.
And which would create probably an issue. I always think the guy that comes to mind for me is Sheriff Arpaio out in Arizona, I believe it is. And
right. Well, and we've been brainwashed into thinking that it would be a really big deal. But the dirty little secret that the feds don't want you to know is they don't have the resources or the manpower to carry out all their bully threats. They require co-opting state and local governments to do their bidding for them. And so if the state and local governments simply stood on constitutional ground and said, we won't do your bidding anymore, then the federal government would be completely powerless.
And what they usually use for their bidding is dollars.
Right.
The dollars gave them.
Right. And here's the real solution then. The states taking back the power that's reserved to them no longer pay the federal government to use the power that belongs to the states. And so the states then refuse to allow the federal government to collect money to fund things they don't have the power to do. The states keep that money, and then the states work at a surplus and are able to do a better job because everybody knows that local governments actually do better jobs than bigger governments.
Oh, and then John's asking me about the 17th Amendment. I guess that was really part of the end of all of this, because when the states no longer appointed their senators and allowed the senators to be elected by by the general public, then they were no longer beholden to the state legislatures, and then they could do their bidding on their up in D.C., which is
we bought that.
Do
we bought that bill of goods from the progressives of 1913. Or the progressives of 1912 with the leadership of a Republican by the name of Teddy Roosevelt.
Thank you.
And what we did was we turned the sovereignty over the states over to public popular vote. And our senators no longer represent the states like they were supposed to represent, but represent the popularity of the people. And they don't have the opportunity, they don't have the mechanism by which to represent the people that the House does, so they really just end up representing the federal government.
And the lobbyists and whoever else is up in D.C. now giving them money so they can get reelected.
Right. No, it's very interesting. There's an article on my website titled "Term Limits We Need," in which I give the background for the 17th Amendment. And one of our framers, by the name of Richard Henry Lee, said the entire reason that we would have total automatic recall rather than popular vote was because if we went to popular vote, then it would be the lobbyists who would control Washington, D.C. instead of the state.
And when did Mr. Lee write that?
that was during the ratification of the Constitution and the establishment of the Constitution. So it was back before 1787.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, it's not like they weren't soothsayers or anything. They understood what human nature was, and that was the greatest.
Oh, no, well, they knew their history. Remember, there was nothing invented in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, or Declaration of Independence. Every aspect of those three documents was taken from 700 years and 5 documents called Liberty Charters written over those 700 years. That's the history I teach. I can show you everything in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights where it comes from in over 700 years of history, because we invented nothing but inherited everything.
Yes. Well, KrisAnne, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're coming up on the end of here, and I want to give you plenty of opportunity to let folks know exactly what your mission is, what you've been doing, how to get a hold of you, where to find your stuff, all the good times, all that fun stuff for you. So I want to go ahead and free up the mic for you so you can go ahead and plug whatever you need to plug right now. I want to give you that opportunity.
Well, the history that I teach is available in 2 books for young people, one for middle school, high school students, the other for non-readers. And I also have adult books that I've written. I have a workshop that I teach every Saturday that's a 5-hour workshop where I go through the history of the Constitution. I teach the the Bill of Rights, 1 through 10, where they come from, how they're supposed to work, what we're doing wrong, and how to fix them. And then during the weeks, I also teach lessons that last about an hour during the weekdays. And those lessons can be the history, that what I call the genealogy of the Constitution. I have a lesson that I teach in churches on religious liberty. My husband travels with me sometimes, and he's a former pastor. He has a lesson that he teaches called The Righteous Resistance to Civil Authority, the Biblical Nullifiers, he calls them. I teach on the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Ninth and Tenth Amendments, and I teach everybody from middle school, high school, like I said, all the way up to Supreme Court justices, if they would let me. And all you have to do is contact me through my website, which is KrisAnneHall.com, KrisAnneHall.com. I have no speaking fees, guys. I don't charge anybody anything to have me come and speak. I don't require any groups to compensate me for travel or accommodations. We work entirely by faith, and God has gifted us with a talent to write books and to have products to sell to help the ministry, and then people also donate. We have people that support us like they do missionaries. We're missionaries in defense of the Constitution, and so we have people that donate on a regular basis or on a one-time basis and help us travel around the country and do this.
Well, KrisAnne, it's been really great to have you on tonight. It's truly what you are doing is God's work. And
well, thank you.
Thank goodness you're out there doing it. I mean, I'm sure we've learned something tonight. I'm hoping that the audience has learned something tonight, because my goodness, there's so much we don't know about that you've been able to highlight and give to us tonight. So I certainly do appreciate you being on tonight.
Well, thank you. Well, that's what my website's all about. It's just more of what we talked about tonight in writing and in videos and in podcasts. On Facebook, too, I do a few posts every day and just about constitutional issues and contemporary issues. And so we are a ministry dedicated toward liberty first education, which means liberty over security, principle over party, and truth over politics and personality.
Well, God bless you, KrisAnne. I appreciate it. We're about out of time here. So, KrisAnne, anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome. I'm sure John is extending that out to you just as well. So,
well, you guys just extend the invitation. You want me back, I'll come back.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's KrisAnne Hall.
All right. Wow, that was beyond what I expected, way beyond what I expected. I love this. I love this. And I'm going to take you up on your offer, or on her offer. I'm going to see if I can get her out here to California. I have an event coming up in July that she would be perfect for. So I'm gonna touch on that. And while I was sitting here listening, I subscribed to her website. You go out to the KrisAnneHall.com and subscribe to her newsletter. And the first thing she sent me was a video on the First Amendment. Just beautiful. A free ebook right away in defense of liberty. All that just by signing up. It was great. KrisAnneHall.com. Hey, guys, we're out of time here. We'll be back tomorrow. Karen Sigmund from Rage Against the Media will be with us, and Ron Edwards will be with us from the Edwards Notebook. So we'll have a lot more for you coming up tomorrow. I just want to thank you again for listening. Go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. And in the meantime, have a good evening, and God bless. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.